Hi everyone, this is Long Vo. Today I'm analyzing a game that I played on July 8th, 2012 against my brother. I'm playing white and he's playing black. So I go d4 for a change. Normally I play king's pawn and he continues with his modern defense or Pierce defense with knight to f6 and knight to f3. So now my idea is to try the London system. And he goes g6 and bishop to f4, getting out of the future pawn chain here. And bishop to g7, getting ready to castle. c3 and castle's short, and knight to d2 and d6, opening the diagonal for the bishop, and e3. So his defense is usually very passive, so I thought I would play also a passive defense myself. But I do like the London system because it's pretty easy to play. So he goes c6, opening the diagonal for the queen, and bishop to d3. So my opening is almost over. Now he starts pushing a5 to launch an attack on the queen side, and I do the same on the king side with h3 with the idea of pushing g4 and then perhaps kicking away the knight and keep pushing the pawns and trying to exchange and open up the h file. So knight to a6 and g4. So he goes bishop to d7. So at this point, I'm not sure why he went the bishop there, perhaps trying to further develop his pieces to eventually connect the rooks. But I don't think the bishop here is very active. So I start my attack with knight to e4. So my goal here is to eliminate the knight here and the dark squared bishop, because they're the only ones that are really defending the king here. So if he doesn't do anything and I exchange with the knight, so that's one less piece to worry about, and then I could push my pawns up here. So he goes knight takes e4, bishop takes e4, and he goes d5 to kick away the bishop. Oops. And bishop retreats to d3, and he plays b5, now launching a queenside attack. And I keep pushing with g5. So at this point, I've succeeded in blocking the g pawn here, and my next goal was to force an exchange here, opening the h file. So he goes b4, and instead of taking wasting a move there, I figured once he comes to me, then that's fine as well. So I want to use my moves to attack on the king side. So h4. So at this point he does feel that pressure, and he knows my next move will force an exchange. So he goes bishop to g4. So same thing, right? So if initially he didn't move that bishop, it wouldn't have changed anything, right? So if he simply moved it now, but that was what I thought a wasted move. So he goes bishop to g4, protecting the h5 square. and rook to g1, kicking away the bishop. So now he finds a nice defensive outpost with bishop to h5. So even though I got rid of the knight here, now he brings in another defender, so I have to deal with both of them now. So bishop to e2 with the idea of moving my knight with a discovered attack on the bishop, and if he doesn't do anything and I exchange, then that would really mess up his pawns and create a semi-open file on the g file where my rook is already x-raying the king there. So he goes queen to b6, trying to make the queen more active and finishing his development and connecting the rooks. So that kind of works out for me. So I continue with knight to e5 with a discovered attack and a threat of forking the queen and the rook. So bishop takes e2, attacking the queen. Queen takes e2. So at this point, he felt that pressure, right? And he decided to take with the dark squared bishop. So bishop takes e5, which I feel was a mistake because when you have this formation here with the dark squared bishop, that's the only one that's protecting the dark squares, and it becomes a more valuable piece. So if he exchanges it with my knight here, that works out for me. But I do understand from his point of view that my knight is also quite active with that outpost there. So bishop takes e5 and f6, kicking away the bishop. So that also works out for me because it gives me an opportunity to open up the g file. So g takes f, e takes f, kicking away the bishop, and bishop back to f4 with the idea of entering through the dark squares left behind by the dark squared bishop, by his dark squared bishop. So he sees that, and king to g7. So queen to h5, knowing that his pawn here is pinned, so he can't take. And the idea is to penetrate with the queen instead of the bishop. And that's where it shows how important the dark squares are when you have that fianchettoed formation there. So b takes c. So at this point I attack the king with queen to h6 check and king to g8. So at this point I thought I could finish the game here by being aggressive. So I decided to take with the rook. So rook takes g6 check, and then I thought that even if he takes back here, which he did, I would have still a really strong attack, and I thought I could finish it. So then I go queen takes g6 check and king to h8, and I go bishop to h6 with the idea of delivering checkmate here. And I thought that I was gonna finish him because if he if he goes the rook here, I could still have this. And anyways, I didn't really think it through, but okay, so he plays a move that really surprised me. So he went queen to b7, and at that point it was pretty much over for me because he has a lot of pieces for the defense, and I'm running out of ammunition here. Um, so I go king to e2, trying to open up the first rank here to bring my last rook here into the attack. It's way too late at this point. C takes b, and rook to g1, and rook to f7, and it's pretty much over because now he brings the other rook into the defense. And so I go bishop to f8 with the idea of disconnecting this rook here and delivering checkmate with queen to g8, but it didn't work because once he takes the bishop, it's all over. And I told him, since it's just a friendly game and I always let him win anyway, so how about we take it backwards to when I had him in check here, and then he goes king to g8. So at this point, I don't have to take with the rook. It was just me trying to be ambitious and really aggressive, but I didn't need to do that. So he knew that. It was just like an experiment for me. So I thought, okay, let's play from here, right? And then and he's like, it doesn't matter. You're gonna lose anyway. You have no attack. So I'm like, okay, so let's play from there. And he agreed because normally in a tournament play, I would probably calculate a little bit deeper. But this is just a friendly game, so I didn't really care, and it was about speed. And so I play. So we take over from here. We start over from here, and so I go b takes c, and he goes queen to b2, improving the position of the queen, attacking the rook and getting closer to the king. So rook to d1, and queen takes c3 check. And so instead of blocking with the rook there, I decided to go the king instead because I had the idea of running my king through the pawn chain here, and so once he's out of check to deliver, then I would somehow find a way to perhaps double the rooks and use them into the kingside attack here. So I decided to run the king instead, and I knew that my pawns were hanging. So once he goes queen to c2 check, so same thing, I could have blocked with the rook, protecting the a pawn here, but I didn't want to tie down my rook in defense. So king to f3, and I was sort of taunting him there and saying that I'll give you my whole army, right, with all these hanging pawns there. All I care about is getting your king. So we were like trash talking each other a bit there. So instead of taking with the queen, he decides to bring in the knight to b4, which I think is a better move because he does want to bring more attackers and try to attack the king there instead of just slowly losing tempo with the queen moves. And the queen is much more active closer to my king. So now rook to e1, with the idea of moving the other rook to double the rooks. But if I left the rook to d1 and I move the other one, then the rook hangs. So rook to e1. So queen to e4 check. So that check I didn't see at all, but it didn't matter because it works out for me because I wanted to run my king towards safety on this side here. I felt my king was safe with the bishop and the rook and the queen, and if I run on this side and he starts delivering check, and maybe then I can use this rook to block it, and then it gives me a chance to double the rooks. So king to g3, and he goes knight to d3, forking the rook and the bishop. So now I notice the b file is open, so rook to b1, with the idea of instead of doubling the rooks, then I could just bring the rook to the 7th rank. And so knight takes f4, which also works for me because I felt the bishop wasn't going to be as useful anymore, because now you know, the king is already somehow trapped, like the king here, and unless he moves the other pawns, weakening the dark squares, then the bishop is not really that useful. So the fact that he exchanged it works out for me. And at this point I could have taken with the queen as to not to disrupt my pawn chain here, but I felt I needed the queen to stay close to his king to exert that pressure. So I took with e takes f4, and also taunting him, you know, I'll give you my whole army, right? So I was confident that with the rook here, I was going to be successful in checkmating him. So he offers a rook exchange with rook to b8. So this is where I noticed that the e file is open. So rook to e1, and this way I would gain a tempo as well, attacking the queen. So queen takes d4 and rook to e7. So my next move would be to deliver checkmate here or here. So rook to f7. So I exchange, rook takes f7, king takes f7, queen takes h7 check, and king to e6. So at this point I felt very comfortable because my pieces were more active than his, and my pawn here was preventing his rook from delivering check. So rook to e1 check, and he goes king to, well, he only has 2 moves left, and it's over for him because king to d6 would end up in checkmate over here. And if he went king to f5, so queen to d7 is checkmate. So I guess he was a little bit upset, and he's like, oh, I miscalculated somewhere, right? And then and as a joke to him, and I told him, yeah, you miscalculated when you accepted my challenge. So I hope you guys enjoyed the game, and I'll keep posting stuff like this. Okay, thanks.